Hi, in this video, we're going to talk about the double asterisks and the var keyword parameters. So we have studied the var positional parameters or variable number of positional parameters, and they are very useful. However, because they are positional parameters, the order that they're specified in the definition of a function or method do matter. So at times they can be a little inflexible. Now we have something that is very flexible, right? Those are the keyword parameters. So for example, to instantiate a complex number which has a real part and an imaginary part, in Python, one way is to say complex and real, the real part, and then the imaginary part, right? Now, because we're using them as a keyword parameter, so we can switch the order of the imaginary and the real parameter, and they don't matter. They create exactly the same complex number. So A equal to B. And that gives us a lot of flexibilities. And as you would perhaps expect, that the Python programmers did not stop with var positional parameter, but they also have var keyword parameters. So similar to using a single asterisk to unpack an iterable into individual positional arguments, when we call a function, we can use double asterisks to unpack a dictionary of key value pairs into then keyword arguments or keyword parameters when we call a function. So for this example here, I have a dictionary that has a real key that is real and a value of 1, and a key that is image and a value of 2. And I unpack this dictionary using double asterisks to instantiate a complex number. So that is equivalent to doing this. And when we run it, these two ways of instantiating a complex number are or give the exact same complex number. So that's what double asterisks do when we call a function or a method. Now, what about in a function definition or method definition? What does a double asterisk do when it is in front of a parameter? So it makes that parameter into what's called a var keyword parameter, and it captures a variable number of keyword arguments. And so let's take a look at what that actually does. So here I say double asterisk and keyword arguments. I'll print out the keyword argument, the type of it, and then well, actually, and the type is a dictionary, and that's why in the next two lines here I am going to go through the dictionary, all the items, and print out the key and the value in that dictionary. And in this evocation of full, I give you the three parameters, three keyword parameters, A, B, C, and each take on a value of 1, 2, 3. So what we end up with is a dictionary that has the key A, B, C, right? A, B, C, and the values 1, 2, 3. So if I add another, say, D equal to 4 here, then we would expect that it has an additional key of D and a value of 4. Now that you've seen the double asterisks both in function definition and evocation, I would like you to go through these three little exercises so that you can be absolutely certain that you understand them correctly. Now, these would involve code that has the double asterisks in function definition, or it's missing from the function definition, and also calling a function with double asterisks and without the double asterisks. So here is the first piece of code fragment. What I would like you to do is to kind of think through it in your head first and see what actually gets printed out, and then type this into the IDE to make sure that it matches what you think it should print out, and if it does not, you understand why. So here is the first code fragment. Please pause the video and give it a try. And here is the next code fragment. Again, please pause the video and try it out. And finally, here's the third code fragment. And again, please pause the video and try it. Okay, moving on. And just like the var positional parameters, the var keyword parameters, it can be combined with the normal parameters. So for an example here, I have the var keyword arguments, but I also have a normal positional argument or a parameter. And now if I call full with the 3 keyword arguments, so let's see what A is and what keyword arg is. Well, it's kind of expected that A is assigned the value of 1, right? And the double asterisk keyword args that captures the rest of the keyword arguments, which is B and C. And as simple as it might sound, this is actually one of the most useful and powerful usage of the var keyword parameter. And that is that it actually allows a function or a method to capture only the parameters that it wants to use, and it can pass on all these other parameters to other functions and methods, and it doesn't even have to know what they are. So for example, in these two functions here, so first define the function foo, and foo only cares about the parameter A. So in this case, it only prints it out, and it doesn't really care about the rest of the parameter because A or foo itself doesn't use them. Now, however, foo uses another function or calls another function, bar, and bar actually cares about the parameters B and C. And again, it just kind of print them out in this case. Now, take note of the way that foo calls bar with the keyword arguments. Right? Remember, keyword arguments is a dictionary of the arguments, and putting 2 asterisks in front of it unpacks the key value pairs in the dictionary into keyword arguments to the function that they are invoked with. Now, for is going to be called with these 3 parameters, and let's run it. So let's see. For, well, because it has a parameter A that has the value of 1, so for gets what it needs. And now the key again here is that for doesn't really care about what B or bar needs, but it just pass on whatever parameters that it captures and just pass it on to bar. So bar, because there are B and C here, then bar gets the B and C parameters that it needs, and everybody is happy. And finally, because these are keyword arguments, then we can actually switch the order of these arguments, and everybody should still be happy. And that's what these slides are trying to explain. Now, I mentioned that the ability of var keyword parameter to capture only the parameter it cares about while passing on the other parameters that it does not care about to other functions or methods is very useful. The best showcase for that is probably for a derived class to call the parents class method with a bunch of arguments that the derived class does not care about. So let me explain. Now, this example comes from our study of the general tree. Remember, in general tree, when we want to attach data to or store data in the tree, we derive a data tree node from the tree node. And when we write the initializer for data tree node, we obviously need the client to supply us with data. Now, we also take an additional parameters that really the data tree node doesn't care about, but these additional parameters like the sibling pointer, the first child pointer, previous pointer, etc., they're there in the data tree nodes initializer because the tree nodes initializer wants those parameters. So here are 4, 5 parameters that the data tree node really doesn't care about. So can we not spell them out so specifically? Well, we can. We can just replace them with the var keyword parameters, and we can just pass them along to the tree nodes initializer. And so the only parameter that we care about is the data parameter because we need that to create an instance attribute.data. And the rest of the parameter, whatever they are, if there are 5 more, 10 more, 100 more of those, it really doesn't matter to data trees initializer. So we just pass them on. So this should work the same way as before, and indeed it does. And that's what this slide is trying to explain, and we'll use this again when we revisit the topic of multiple inheritance. Now, not only we can mix var keyword parameters with normal parameters, we can in fact mix the var positional parameters with the var keyword parameters and obviously with the normal parameters. They can be all mixed together. Now, there are some rules, but the most important rule is probably when we mix the two var whatever parameters together, the var positional has to come before the var keyword. Now, here is a can example of that. And so we have a full method here. The first one is a normal parameter, the second one is a var positional parameter, and the third one is a var keyword argument. And here they just print out what each of those things are. And let's call it call full with these parameters and see what happens. So here we go. And here it says arg, the normal positional parameter is red. So that is the first one. So that makes sense. Now, here, the var positional argument captured the rest of the positional argument, which is white and blue. So white and blue, they form a tuple that is in the var positional argument. And then finally, now we get to the keyword argument. So, and that's why this keyword argument goes into the var keyword parameters. So if we add another color here, I don't know, green, and then we add another t equal to something else, whatever, something. And then if we run this again, basically then we get, the args. The arg is still red, right? That's the one argument in front. The rest of the positional argument is again captured by this var positional parameter, and all of these keyword arguments are in the keyword arguments. And with that, here is another exercise for you that let's say we want to create our own version of kind of print function. Now we're going to call it Simon Says, because what Simon Says does is that it will do everything that print can do. So because print can take a number of positional keyword and keyword parameters that are listed here, so the Simon Says should be able to take all of these parameters as well, exactly the way they are, right? But what it does in addition is that anything that it's going to print out, it's going to put this Simon Says in front. Okay, so yeah, basically if we say, Simon Says Python is awesome, then what it's going to print out is Simon Says Python is awesome. So yeah, please pause the video and try to write this function. All right, so hopefully you've done it. Now here is what I would do. Now before the days of the var positional and var keyword parameters, this is what we would do, right? So we would just say Simon Says, and then we kind of copy all the parameters of print with all the defaults and stuff, and then we'll just say print, and then the first thing we print is Simon Says, and we pass the rest of all of these parameters to print, right? So that would work. It says Simon Says Python is awesome, but again, these are parameters we don't care about. So a better or easier way to do this is to simply say Simon Says it will take whatever positional argument or positional parameters and whatever keyword parameters, and then when it does the print, it will print the extra Simon Says, and it pass on whatever those positional and or keyword arguments to print. And this should work exactly the same way as the other one. Oh, I have an extra space here. So hopefully by now you have a good basic understanding of Python's var position and var keyword parameters. We've gone over some example of them. Hopefully you find them useful. Well, they are in fact even more useful and more powerful than what we've already seen. So if you're interested, here is a link to an article, a good article that I found that provides additional information on this topic.